I know that the people in this room, some of them have had first-hand involvement in this process, and in fact advocated for this Public Accountability Oversight Committee.
Yes.
In fact, the existence of the Public Accountability Oversight Committee is a direct result of civil society action, and there are people in this room that led that action. So my job is very, very simple, really. It's to provide a broad overview for that element of the National Resource Fund, and to, in a way, lead into the presentations which will follow, which is a practical example of the implementation of a simple and similar mechanism in Ghana, which the presenter is not here, but there is a video presentation and a video of the impact of the effective management of that similar structural apparatus in Ghana here. So, broadly, I'm going to provide an overview of the Public Accountability Oversight Committee. The presentation, next slide. Oh, I have a clicker. So, basically, we want to answer a few questions. What are the best practices for public oversight of sovereign funds? What is the PAOC, the Public Accountability Oversight Committee, and how is it constituted? What is the operational framework for the Public Accountability Oversight Committee, and how does this stand against international best practice? Very simple questions that you want to answer. So I know that this morning you went through detailed presentations on the construct of the sovereign fund, why it is important, and what are the major objectives of the fund. The Act specifies the main objectives of the fund, and basically those were more or less examined by the presenter this morning, and these are the broad categories in which they fall, the major objectives. So in terms of the management, the Natural Resource Fund is established in the laws of Guyana, Act number 12 of 2019, and that legislation specifies and provides that all petroleum revenues will be directly deposited into the Natural Resource Fund. And the Natural Resource Fund is a bank account that will be held by the Bank of Guyana on behalf of the people of Guyana. I'm sure that in your presentation this morning, you learned also about the withdrawal rule, how monies will come from that fund, and the principles that are applied to doing so. The Bank of Guyana will have responsibility for investing these revenues in financial assets in accordance with the rules set out in the law. Only Parliament can approve requests for withdrawal of money based on the rules and procedures that are set out in the law. There are two types of withdrawals. One that's directly into the consolidated fund, which I'm sure we talked about this morning, and which is to support the budget process. And the budget process is a known public process that agencies, the government, public agencies, and commissions are involved in. There's a separate appropriations process for commissions because of the way commissions function and the way they are established in the law. Separate appropriations bill goes to Parliament for commissions. So the Public Accountability Oversight Committee will function in this sense similar to a commission in that it is provided in the law that its funding will come directly from Parliament, that the appointed officers of the Public Accountability Oversight Committee will submit their budget to the Public Accounts Committee, and that committee approves, with recommendations from the Minister of Finance, approves the budget which goes directly to the parliamentary floor as part of the appropriations bill, similar to the way commissions work. So therefore, there are two distinct processes of withdrawal. One is a direct withdrawal for the purpose of funding audits and the operations of the Public Accountability Oversight Committee. And the first and important one that we know is through the national budget process. Of course, there is the investment committee, which you learned about this morning, which is comprised of a nominee from the Minister of Finance, the Minister responsible for petroleum, whoever that may be in the future, leader of the opposition, the Guyana Association of Bankers, and non-voting members representing the Bank of Guyana, and the senior investment analyst. The Macroeconomic Policy Committee, or Macroeconomic Committee, also nominees from the Minister of Finance, leader of the opposition, the Bank of Guyana, the Private Sector Commission, and a leading international expert approved by Cabinet. And very importantly, this very high-level public accountability and oversight committee made up of civil society and regional democratic councils. So the Public Accountability and Oversight Committee has a responsibility really to provide for the public's interest in the management of the National Resource Fund. And specifically, that involves monitoring and evaluating compliance with the Oversight. It involves providing independent assessment and facilitating public consultations and discussions around the utilization of the fund. Of course, I mentioned that the budget comes directly from the Parliament to the Public Accounts Committee, and these are some of the things that are expected to publish biannual reports, organize consultations, and submit reports to the National Assembly. The NRF comprises and the law specifies. So although these agencies are named and these organizations and groups are named, it's important to recognize that these are nominating entities, not the nominees. So that's a distinction that's very important, so that any of these organizations or entities will be required to submit, and you are all represented here, to submit in a process that you're going to decide upon your nomination. And that person need not come from your organizations, right, from these organizations. These organizations are not nominees. And it's important to recognize that the law specifically did not say the Bar Association of Guyana. And you see that there's a plural word there. So it's Bar Associations of Guyana. And through this process, we attempted to involve the Guyana Women Lawyers Association, for example, other bar associations that we know of in the country. So therefore, it's intended to be a consultative process between that constituency and those constituencies. You'll notice civil society is mentioned there as a nominating organization or a nominating entity in the Public Accountability and Oversight Committee, and you will see separately youth and women. So the idea is that a process needs to be developed which allows for these constituencies to consult, agree, and propose a nominee on their behalf. Perhaps the simplest one might be regional democratic councils, and in the process, we were able to at least share some of this information as a university with some of the RBCs, most of the RBCs, and the Act speaks to a very strong role for regional democratic councils. So the regional democratic councils, each with 10 of them, of course, will nominate somebody. But what is important is that the Act also specifies that decisions of the POC will be based upon quorum. And the quorum is identified as 13 members of these 22 people. And of that 13 that comprises the quorum, there must be, for a quorum to be a quorum, 5 members of those representing regional democratic councils. So 50% of the representatives of the regional democratic system in this country must be part of decision-making in the minimum value, which is 13 for a quorum, which seems important. When we met with the RDCs, we said to them, in a sense, they're saying half of Guyana, because if we say in the regional democratic system, each region represents the regional constituency, regional set of people, regional population, then we need half of those people to be represented for a vote to be valid in a quorum. University of Guyana is listed as a constituent member, listed at the bottom because it was hard fought, and the people in this room that fought for that. But it's very important that the University of Guyana is part of this and provides that type of intellectual investment in the operation of the National Resource Fund. One of the things that we stressed when we met with constituents, those who were able to meet with, was that it was very, very important that the nominees from the nominating organizations have a level of understanding, if not expertise, in some of the technical areas that the POC will have to cover. Because the POC will have a responsibility to interrogate and ensure compliance with some very, very specific aspects of the legislation. And when I say specific, the legislation speaks to formula or formulae is included in the legislation, just to see how specific it is. So deviations from that, the formula x plus 1 is equal to 1 times, I don't know, 3x or something like that. And then you change that when you do x plus 1.5. That's a different formula, right? So it's very, very important that there are people that are able to recognize what that 0.5 change in the formula means and how that impacts on the compliance with the legislation. So, a lot of business mornings, I'm not going to go much into it, but this is what the legislation provides for in terms of withdrawals. The committee comprises, this is a macroeconomic committee, which basically is going to set what that economically sustainable model is. And we dealt with that this morning. It's very important, the reporting process, but it's important to recognize that the Act provides details on the forms of penalties for breach of the Act. And these things are classified in the law as offenses against really the people of Guyana. So, in a nutshell, that's the presentation. I know there are going to be a few questions, and there's packages that you have already. So we're not going to sort of belabor this too much. But one of the things that we want to answer with this presentation is whether or not the Natural Resource Fund Act responded to best practice. And what we've learned is that the Natural Resource, this public accountability, oversight committee, and the Act itself as a framework is grounded in the Santiago principles. And 21 of those principles are specifically and directly accounted for in the National Resource Fund framework that we have. And a further 3 of those principles, and those principles are in the package that you have on page 7 of the document that is called Sovereign Wealth Funds, General Accepted Principles and Practices, the Santiago Principles, dated October 2008. So all 24 principles are listed there. I'm not going to go through those principles in the interest of time, but primary among them is the first one, Principle 1, that the legal framework for the Sovereign Wealth Fund should be sound and it should support effective operation and achievement of its stated objectives. So I'll go that again. The legal framework for the Sovereign Wealth Fund should be sound and support its effective operation and the achievement of stated objectives. That's the very first principle. I know that people will ask, and we have some questions about the special interest exclusions in the law. And in part 3 of the legislation, again, a copy of the legislation is in your folder. And in part 3, it speaks specifically to the Public Accountability and Oversight Committee. So you've got this document in your folder. And it speaks to those exclusions. So a person shall not be eligible for appointment as a member or continue as a member of the Public Accountability and Oversight Committee if that person, A, is a member of Parliament, B, is an employee of the ministry, and in this case the ministry refers to the Ministry of Finance, which has overall responsibility for the National Resource Fund. C, is an employee or owner of an organization engaged by the minister or the governor of the Bank of Guyana to assist with the management of the fund. D, is a member of the investment committee established under Section 13, or in the same Act. E, is insolvent or has been declared bankrupt. F, is of unsound mind or otherwise medically unfit for office. Or G, has been convicted of any offense not minor in nature. So I'll conclude on that. I'll open the floor for questions. I think I did a lot of these.